The stop-loss conspiracy. How your emotions mark you as liquidity. They call it risk management. You call it safety. But in reality, your stop-loss might just be the loudest confession you'll ever make in the market. The moment you set it, the market knows how much fear you can tolerate, how far you're willing to go before you panic. And that's where the real game begins. Because what if I told you, your stop-loss isn't protecting you, it's profiling you? Picture this. You've entered a trade. You're confident. Charts look clean. Risk to reward is textbook perfect. You set your stop-loss like a disciplined trader and sit back, proud of your logic. But here's the truth no one tells you. You didn't just mark your exit. You marked your emotional breaking point. The algorithm doesn't care about your entry. It cares about your limit of pain. And once it knows that, it knows exactly how to make you surrender. In today's market, your fear is data. Your hesitation is a metric. Your pattern of pain tolerance is stored, analyzed, and used against you. Every time you place a stop, you are contributing to a behavioral map, a living heat map of trader psychology. The brokers, the exchanges, the liquidity engines, they all see one thing: where the herd will give up. They don't hunt your money directly. They herd your emotions into predictable clusters. It's no longer a chart of price. It's a chart of human emotion. Every spike, every sudden dip, every tiny fake out is a behavioral probe. The system doesn't move randomly. It moves strategically to measure emotional volatility. When you watch a price drop just enough to trigger your stop and then bounce violently upward, that's not coincidence. That's precision. That's your fear being converted into liquidity. You see, retail traders think in logic. Algorithms think in emotion. Your perfect technical setup is nothing but a mask worn by your own behavioral patterns. When 80% of traders place stops below a recent swing low, that swing low becomes a target. The market doesn't find liquidity. It creates it. It goes where your fear lives. Let's talk about Michael, a disciplined swing trader. He sets his stop loss 1% below support, just like the books say. Over the months, he builds a system, consistent and confident. But then, one morning, volatility spikes without warning. His position gets stopped out to the cent, and minutes later, price reverses. Classic manipulation, he thinks. But the truth is darker. The market didn't manipulate him. It understood him. His behavior over hundreds of trades told the system exactly what kind of trader he was. His risk profile, his patience threshold, even his average emotional recovery time after a loss. Every trade you take trains the algorithm to recognize your psychology. You think you're learning the market, but the market is learning you. You become a digital fingerprint, an emotional signature the system uses to predict your next move. That's why you'll often feel the market knows what you're about to do. Because in a way, it does. Imagine 10,000 traders placing stops within the same 0.5% zone. The market doesn't need to target anyone individually. It just needs to touch that cluster. One move, and thousands of stop orders convert into instant sell-side liquidity. That single sweep funds the next upward impulse. You call it a stop hunt. They call it liquidity collection. And it's as systematic as breathing. Now, let's zoom out. Why does this cycle repeat endlessly? Because traders react the same way under stress. When fear rises, logic collapses. Humans can't operate under threat without emotional leakage. Hesitation, second-guessing, early exits, revenge trades. The algorithm doesn't need to manipulate price. It only needs to manipulate emotion. Once fear sets in, the trader executes the script for the system. Think about it. Why do you move your stop when a candle turns against you? Why do you tighten it too early when you see profits? Because deep inside, you aren't trading the chart. You're trading your emotional equilibrium. Every stop loss is not a price level. It's a confession. This is where I will break. And that's all the market needs. You ever notice how your stop is hit by a single wick and then the chart resumes its original direction? That wick wasn't random. It was a test. The system is constantly probing how many traders will surrender if we push it just a little. That's why the term stop hunting is so misunderstood. It's not some malicious entity manually taking you out. It's an automated feedback loop exploiting behavioral predictability. This is where psychology meets machine intelligence. Over time, AI models trained on order book behavior can estimate how crowds will react to certain volatility spikes. They know that after 3 consecutive red candles, most retail traders move stops closer. They know that after a fake breakout, 70% of traders will reverse their bias too soon. It's not guessing. It's pattern recognition at scale. And you, unknowingly, are part of that data. The conspiracy isn't that the market is rigged. The conspiracy is that it's predictable, and you are the prediction. Your emotions, your decisions, your stop placements, all feeding a system designed to harvest reactions. It's not personal, it's statistical warfare. You're not being targeted, you're being modeled. But here's the part they don't want you to understand. You can reverse the lens. You can observe yourself the same way the market observes you. Start treating your emotions as indicators, not enemies. Every time you feel fear before entering a trade, mark it down. Every time you tighten a stop out of panic, note it. You'll start to see a mirror image, your emotional chart. And once you learn to trade against that, the market loses its edge over you. Because in the end, the algorithm doesn't understand price. It understands behavior. If your behavior becomes unreadable, your stop loss invisible in the psychological sense, you become statistically invisible. That's the real edge. Let's go back to Michael. After losing repeatedly to these wicks, he stopped placing stops on chart patterns and started placing them based on volatility structure. He began sizing smaller, widening stops, and focusing on intent, not level. Instead of thinking, where could I lose least, he started asking, where would others lose most? Within months, his win rate didn't skyrocket, but his survival did. The algorithm couldn't read him anymore. This is what separates consistent traders from predictable ones. Predictable traders think their discipline protects them. Consistent traders know their discipline makes them visible, and they adapt. They stop broadcasting fear. They let their position sizing, not stop loss, define their safety. They stop panicking when they're tested. They accept that every wick is not an attack. It's an invitation to think deeper. And this is where the real psychology of trading lives. It's not about chart patterns, it's about self-patterns. You can't control volatility, you can't control manipulation, but you can control the one variable that feeds it all, your reaction. Every emotional trade, every early exit, every stubborn re-entry, it's not random noise. It's behavioral code. The system reads it, the system feeds on it, until you stop supplying it. The irony? The moment you stop fearing stop losses, they stop hunting you. Because then, your stops no longer represent panic. They represent structure. The market thrives on emotion, not order. Once you remove emotion, your stop becomes invisible in a sea of predictable pain points. That's how you escape the loop. So next time someone tells you to always trade with a stop, remember, it's not just about managing loss. It's about managing visibility. A stop loss doesn't just define where you lose, it defines how readable you are. And the traders who survive long enough to realize that, stop being part of the herd. The conspiracy isn't out there. It's in here, in your reflexes, your expectations, your emotional muscle memory. You're not being trapped by brokers. You're being trapped by the predictable rhythm of human fear. And when you understand that, the market finally stops feeling like an enemy and starts looking like what it always was. A reflection of your own psychology, coded into numbers, disguised as price. If this hit you deeper than a chart breakdown ever could, make sure to like this video, drop a comment sharing what resonated most, and subscribe to the channel. Because the next video goes even deeper into how traders unconsciously leak emotional data and how the smartest ones turn that into silence, invisibility, and eventually, mastery.